Let's go. Getting into it. Yo, looks like we're up and running here. Everything's working. And as you can tell by the title, this is the reaction plus a little stock up and stock down from the preseason game, right? That's really what we're looking at in the preseason, anyways. Wins don't really matter. So at the end of the day, coming into this, just trying to see who's likely to make the team, who's not, who's performing well, who needs to be better, right? And at this point, we're trying to project what the roster is going to be, right? And that's going to be a later video. But for now, again, some stock up, stock down after the preseason game yesterday. Excuse me. And, my immediate reaction before we get into stock up, stock down, my immediate reaction was that obviously pleased with a lot of what we saw, right? And we were able to see the offense have success at different times. We ended up scoring 21 points. We had, 7 points in the first, third, and fourth quarter. We didn't score it all in the second quarter is how that whole thing went. And I thought overall, like when you talk about the best quarterback we had, in my opinion, it was Jason Bean. And I don't think it was really too much of a competition. And even looking at the numbers, you kind of see that. Scroll down here. So we have where Keaton Slovis ends up 8 for 11. He threw the most and had the most completions, but he has 79 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Jason Bean, 7-9, 94 yards, did have the interception, which looking back at it, I still have the same thoughts on it. Like, I think it was like the only decision that he had. It was the only good decision. Obviously, if he just keeps it, tries to run or takes a sack or throws it out, whatever, he tries to make a play, gets intercepted. In the grand scheme of things, that'll count against him, I'm sure. But I thought it was, in terms of trying to make a play downfield, I thought it was a good try. Ends up obviously getting intercepted. DB really just made a good play. We noticed that during the game. I thought the DB just made a good play on the ball. When I watched it live and saw that interception, I honestly thought that DJ Montgomery made a crazy catch, was like able to snatch it away from the DB. Excuse me. But unfortunately, DB ends up getting the interception. But other than that, I thought Jason Bean looked good. Obviously, comes in, him and Xavier Scott working together. Treadwell out there doing his thing, and they were able to end up getting a touchdown there in the third quarter. Sam was 4 for 7, 38 yards. When you look at the rushing production from the quarterback, Sam had 2 carries, 21 yards. Jason Bean had 4 carries, 14 yards, and a touchdown. And then Slovis had 1 carry for 2 yards. So from the quarterbacks, again, Jason Bean ends up being the most productive, has a turnover, but also has an interception or a touchdown in this one on the ground. We had 3 total touchdowns on the ground, which was good. Xavier Scott getting in the end zone, Tyler Goodson getting in the end zone, had 166 yards on the ground. So I thought for the way Shane Steichen's offense is supposed to run, like that's how it's supposed to be, especially in the preseason. Being able to run like that is really good. Tyler Goodson had some good runs. Obviously, the touchdown run, being able to bounce that out. I think most of his runs got stopped up, though. His average ends up being 5.8, though, because of those 2 rushes. He actually only rushed the ball 6 times. I thought he got the ball more than that. 6 rushes, 35 yards, and a touchdown. And then Xavier Scott, 11 carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown with an average of 5. So overall, just really good day rushing. Demetric Felton, really the one that didn't have any success. 9 carries, 13 yards. But everybody else was able to do well. And let's see. Through the rest of this, it's really going to be – this is where we could really get into the stock up, stock down, right? because we're going to talk about all these guys anyway. So let's just get into the stock up, stock down after the game. And this is just what I have, what I looked at, the way I think, and what I saw. Okay, so my stock up here, I'm going to start with Nick Cross. Sorry, excuse me. With Nick Cross, I just thought he was all over the place, right? You want to be, and I mentioned during the game last night, like when you're watching a football game, you want to be a guy that stands out in a good way. And Nick Cross was able to do that. I thought Nick Cross played really well. He was kind of all over the place, right? He was a starting strong safety, whereas you had Rodney Thomas as the starting free safety in the game yesterday. So I think it's evident and kind of unfortunate, right? We see him play so much better in that strong safety position, around the ball so much more in that strong safety position. But Julian Blackmon is so good at strong safety. And he mentioned like the freedom that he has to go out and make plays is why he likes playing strong safety in this system. So are you going to move Blackmon to free safety? Like, is that the best option? Every time, man. I'm so sorry. But putting Julian, like I think Julian, if I'm not mistaken, Julian spent time at free safety in his rookie year, right? I think we had Kari Willis at strong safety, right? I'm pretty sure that's how that went. So he has the experience to go and play free safety. The question is, is that something that the coaches think is going to be better, right? Is putting Nick Cross as strong and putting Julian Blackmon at free, because Stephon Gilmore just got signed to the Vikings, so that idea goes out the window. So now we're at a point where there's really no DBs to bring in. So hopefully the guys that we have going to be able to step up, be able to get things going in the right direction. But again, Nick Cross, a good start. And really what we needed to see, what we were hoping to see, Nick Cross stepping up. Looks like he is. He had a good game last night. Really happy with what I saw from him. Another guy really happy with was Tommy Ade, once again making an impact. He was on the stock up list after game one. He lands here again, just continuing to have an impact. He ends up having a sack in this one, putting pressure on the quarterback. The way he hustles, Tommy Ade, stock continues to rise. Really good from the middle of the field. And it feels like he could be a guy where you have Grover Stewart come off the field on third down, and you can put Tommy Ade in there. Right, and like I thought, and we'll talk about it later, but I thought Dio not looking incredible. So, I feel like there's an opportunity for Tommy to take that spot, right? Dio has that inside and outside versatility, but from what I saw last night, I think Tommy Ade could be a third down guy, right? Obvious passing situation, third downs, have Tommy Ade in there next to DeForest Buckner with Latu and Kwity Paye on the field. Those four rushing the passer on a third down. I feel like we'd easily be able to get a quarterback to get off his spot. We'd easily be able to get a quarterback to move. And we'd be able to get some good pressure, get some sacks that way just by rushing four. I think he's performing really well. Now, obviously, he's not playing with the starters. So we'll see what happens once we get into the regular season. Can he perform well against starting units? We'll see. But right now, Tommy Ade does look really good. And then another guy on the defensive line, Isaiah Land, who last week looked pretty good, but I didn't think made some plays that really stood out like that. But I just think that Isaiah Land last night looked really good. He was rushing the passer all night long. Like, I felt like he was getting in the quarterback's lap a lot last night. So Isaiah Land, somebody to watch out for. With the Ebicom injury, there's going to be somebody else on that rotation that makes the roster. And question is, who's going to be that guy? And again, we're going to have a roster projection video and start to go over all that. But right now, Isaiah Land has looked really good so far. So I think as long as if we're going into the third game, if he can perform well against the Bengals, like he's probably a lock to make the team. Has looked really athletic. Looks like somebody's going to be nice to have on the field. I feel like last year he may have missed a season due to injury. Don't remember that situation. I believe Isaiah Land was with the Cowboys, ended up getting cut from the Cowboys. And was a move that the Colts made that went under the radar. But I was told last night during the game that he had 19 sacks in his last year at college. And 19 sacks in college is crazy. It doesn't matter what year you're in college. Like 19 sacks in college, I feel like is a crazy number. So I just think Isaiah Land, good to have him. Good to have him as part of the rotation. And hopefully he's able to be an effective pass rusher. Obviously, we have Tyquan Lewis also. He's going to be a part of that. He might even be a starter early on. Obviously, Latu's in there. So really liking what we have on the defensive line, especially when Raekwon Davis comes back. That's a big part of it. When Raekwon Davis comes back, we're going to be looking real good on the defensive line. All right, but then transferring over to the offense for a few guys here. We already mentioned Jason Bean, so I'll just bring him up real quick. Jason Bean, I thought, played really well last night. Outside the interception, he had a solid game. I thought he made good decisions. And the thing about Jason Bean, like when you look at Jason Bean and you look at other guys, like other quarterbacks you're going to see play in the preseason, guys fighting for roster spots, Jason Bean had really good pocket presence. And he's a guy that can use his legs and can go run. But I thought he did a good job of, he wasn't running off his spot too early. I think, again, his pocket presence is just really good. When he had to go, he went. And he was able to find a way where he could get out of the pocket. And he did a good job of keeping his eyes downfield, looking for his receiver. Again, a guy that can use his legs, can make it so he can make people miss. Instead, decided, hey, I'm gonna be a quarterback in this instance. Tries to find people down the field, whether he's checking it down or whether he's throwing it down the field, right? Like the one that got intercepted. So I thought Jason Bean looked really good last night, right? Sam has some of that. And Sam could still be the leader in the clubhouse in terms of that third quarterback role. But I think that there's a possibility that we keep Jason Bean and we do some other stuff with Ellinger. We're going to have a separate video about that situation. So be tuned in for that. Make sure you have notifications on. But then some other guys on the offense here, going to the running backs. Obviously, Goodson made some good plays. He had 2 good runs in the game. He only had 6 carries, but had 2 good runs in the game. I thought what I had seen from Tyler Goodson in week 1 was a bit lackluster. And then outside of the touchdown run, wasn't a whole lot. Again, didn't touch the ball a whole lot, but I feel like Tyler Goodson goes down for me, even with the touchdown, because Xavier Scott looked so good last night, right? You start looking at the depth chart with the running backs, like who's going to end up being the odd man out, right? Is it Trey Sermon just because he's missed time and he has the injury? Is he going to be somebody that, gets cut, ends up on the practice squad? Is that what we're going to do? I just think with what we saw from Xavier Scott, what we've seen from Evan Hull, who's also on this list, I just think those 2 guys behind Jonathan Taylor, like the way we can switch hit and the way we're going to be able to do different things. Evan Hull has been really good in terms of the pass game. And being reliable that way. He's able to just catch the ball, turn upfield, reliable. He's not bobbling the ball. So really like what I've seen from Evan Hull, but Xavier Scott, I was very impressed with last night. If you were somebody that was here during the stream last night, you heard it, man. I was really impressed with Xavier Scott. I thought he was doing really good vision, really good explosiveness. Xavier Scott was so good last night. And then there was Laquan Treadwell, who once again doing his thing. I think he ends up 7 catches, 72 yards. Yeah, 7 catches, 72 yards. By far the leader. The next closest was 2 catches by a couple different guys. Derek Sluka, Eric Tomlinson, the tight end, and Juwan Winfrey. Everybody else, nobody was close to Laquan Treadwell. He was in there for a while last night. He played well. So really liked what I saw from him, which is exactly what I was hoping, right? We know who our active roster receivers are going to be, but hopefully we're able to end up with Laquan Treadwell on the practice squad. Now, again, we have to cut guys for them to end up on the practice squad. Hopefully, he doesn't get picked up by somebody else and get on somebody else's practice squad. I'm not going to lie, I don't know how it completely works. We might have first dibs at some of these guys. I have no idea. But I think having Laquan Treadwell as a depth piece on the practice squad would be pretty good. He's looked really good so far in the preseason. Should have had 2 touchdowns in week 1. And who we got here? Segan Alubi is the last guy on the stock up list. Segan Alubi ends up with 7 total tackles last night. Just somebody who's around the ball a lot, right? And which reminds me of Zaire Franklin. I think that just makes sense. And somebody that he's directly behind, somebody that he's learning from, right? I think him and Zaire have a lot of similarities on the field. So all in all, I just think Segan Alubi continuing to develop, continuing to look better and better, right? Looked pretty good last year through the preseason, has looked really good for that unit in this preseason. And again, just all around the ball. That's what you want, is somebody that has a knack for being around the ball, being in the right place. The next step is starting to get turnovers, right? That was what Shaq Leonard did. Shaq Leonard made a habit of being around the ball and then became a turnover specialist, right? So we'll see if he can take that step right. Zaire Franklin gets crazy amount of tackles, but Zaire Franklin doesn't get a whole lot of turnovers. So we'll see if that kind of development comes at some point. What kind of role does Alubi have? He got on the field a little bit last year, so we'll see what kind of role they decide to have for him. But he's looked pretty good throughout this preseason. Then a note here, not really so much stock up. I just thought Eric Johnson looked as good as I've ever seen him in the game last night, right? Wasn't incredible in the run game while he's on the field. Teams can still run up the middle and get chunks of yards. So, it's up and down, but I thought, at least in terms of the pass rush from the middle, I thought he was able to get in the quarterback's lap a couple times. And I was able to notice him there as I was rewatching the game and trying to pay attention to the defensive line. So, that is stock up. Stock up. We'll go through that again. Nick Cross, Tommy Ade, Isaiah Land, Evan Hull, Xavier Scott, Laquan Treadwell, Jason Bean, Segan Alubi, and honorable mention Eric Johnson for looking decent last night. See, you guys have been talking. Eric, what's going on? Ralph, what's up? Indie Sports Connection, what's going on? Appreciate y'all stopping by. Paul's in here. What's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all stopping by. Game was a little late last night, so I figured I'd do the stream a little later. Started right around noon, something like that. He's without Colts football. That's right. What do we got? It's Sunday now, so first game is 3 Sundays from now? Is that right? 21 days, because there's a week off after the preseason. Pretty sure it's 21 days. Right? Am I tripping? Today's the 18th. Yeah, pretty sure it's 21 days. Fell asleep in the game. Thought Richardson would play some. Yeah, unfortunately Richardson wasn't playing, but understandable, with the joint practices, right? Because of that, and Richardson and the offense balled out in those joint practices, so no game time for them. What was that? I didn't even think that was possible. Brandon, what's going on, man? I appreciate you. I didn't even know that was possible. I'm not even going to lie to you. Hell yeah. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you stopping by, of course. That is first donation in Colts Syndicate history. Hell yeah. Let's see here. Saw Cross bury that running back early. Yeah, that play where Cross got the running back in the backfield. That one, I was talking about Nick Cross on stream, so I was looking at him, and as they snapped the ball, he was, at the linebacker level. Just immediate reaction, goes and gets the running back for like a 3-yard loss. Just great play overall by Nick Cross. What YouTube's doing right now, they aren't giving me impression. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if, like, is it YouTube or is it more so that like maybe people that are Colts fans, the type of people that are Colts fans, not a whole lot of them are on YouTube like that, right? Like it's a limited audience. That's what I think of sometimes. But I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of different kinds of people that come in here, all kinds of different ages and whatnot that pop in here to watch videos or come into live streams, whatever it may be. So I don't know. Maybe you are right. Maybe they are just downplaying the Colts. Can be a good pass catcher out of the backfield. Yeah, I really like Hull as a pass catcher. I think filling that role, right? We haven't had somebody solid like that that can fill that kind of role since Nyheim Hines, right? And so I think Evan Hull, from what he's shown as a rusher and in the pass catching, like he just looks like running back two, which is, I feel like, to be expected. Hell yeah. I think Bean is going to take Ellinger's spot. Yeah, very possible Bean ends up taking Ellinger's spot. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Again, we're going to have a video about that whole situation. I want to talk about Ellinger and what could potentially happen. And obviously Bean's going to be a part of that conversation. So if you're here, you're not subscribed with notifications on, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you get notified for that video. We're going to either do that today or tomorrow. I want to look through more tape. Right now, the all 22 wasn't out completely so far. So just waiting for the rest of that to be out so that I can really look at everything from bird's eye view, and then we'll start getting into tape and start getting all kinds of different content out coming out of the game. Lamb played at a small school, over 19 sacks, good in anything. I had 19 sacks last year. 10 touch for calling me Ralphie Latu. Hell yeah. Yeah, Cardinals easily probably could have had. They probably could have had like 8 sacks last night. Sam was able to get away from some. You also had Jason Bean using his elusiveness to get away from some sacks. So yeah, Cardinals could have had a lot last night. The tackles behind our starters were not good. Okay, Mackin Savez is going to get mentioned. He's one of those. Yeah, just backup tackles. Not great. We need Braden Smith and what's his name? Bernard Raymond to stay healthy. I talked about possibly trading Braden Smith, right? Maybe Blake Freeland can develop the way that Bernard Raymond was able to. Doesn't seem like that's the case, and I don't know if we're ready to turn the reins over to Mackin Savez. So looks like probably a good idea to keep Braden Smith after all. 3 weeks to the season. Amazing. Life comes at you fast. Seems like yesterday. Drop pass game versus Houston happened. Phew. Hey, I wish I shared the same sentiment that that game seemed like yesterday. Seems like a long time ago. I've been waiting a long time for football. I'm ready to have some football back in my life. I cannot wait till the regular season starts. Yeah, Tommy Ade was incredible last night. I thought he's really good in the middle of that defense. Yeah, Thursday night game. I can't remember who starts the season. It's always a good one, though. I think it's the Super Bowl champs, right? Aren't the Chiefs going to be playing, what, the Ravens? Is that right? I feel like I'm right. Chiefs, Ravens to start the year. Whatever it is, I can't wait. Try to get into the NFC. Yeah, no kidding. Think about the NFC. Like, they're top heavy. They just have the Niners. If you can get past the Niners, you probably got a pretty good chance to win the Super Bowl. Sam Ball now also. Guys were dropping passes from first. That's fair. I thought Sam was throwing some balls too high last night. He made some balls hard to catch. There was one really good catch by DJ Montgomery. Sam threw it a little outside, but Montgomery was able to go use his hands to snag it and bring it in. I remember that happened. I remember calling that out. That was a really good catch. I think Sam was off to start the game last night. He ended up finding it right the possession where the offense scores a touchdown while Sam's in the game. They figured it out, but early on, Sam did not look good, and it really wasn't anybody's fault but his own. Freeland looks lost in camp. He's got to move his feet. Yeah, Freeland. I don't know. Yeah, moving his feet. That's really what it is. Like, just you got to be able to put a body on a body. You got to be able to stay in front of a guy. And right now, Freeland just isn't getting the job done. Nah, Lamar's done good in the playoffs. I'm a Lamar fan. I'm not gonna stand for it. I like Lamar. No update. That was actually going to be one of the notes that I have on here. There's actually no update currently on any of the guys that got injured, and I believe um, it was Josh Sills, Tanner Bortolini, Juju Brents, who looked fine after the game. He didn't play anymore because of a nose injury, but he was part of the Colts camp and he looked fine. So I think that's not going to be a problem. And then um, who was the other one? You have Sills, Bortolini, Brents. Somebody else left the game. There was four injuries and no update on any of them coming out of the game. I know Bortolini was a toe injury, and I don't remember the other ones. But nonetheless, Jelani Woods. Yeah, duh. That was one of the biggest ones last night. Getting blown up on Twitter. Jelani Woods, Bortolini, both coming out of this game with a toe injury. Juju Brents was a nose, and I can't remember what Josh Sills was. But there's no, and when it comes to Josh Downs or Trey Sermon, any of these guys, like at this point, there's no information on when these guys could be back. I've heard absolutely nothing on the injury front when it comes to any of these guys. So I'm going to be streaming during every game except for the Steelers game this year because I'm going to be at the Steelers game. I'm going to be in Indy for a family reunion that weekend, and I'm going to end up going to the Steelers game. With my dad. So won't be able to be live. Won't have my setup and all that. But every other game during the season, we'll be able to be live. At least that's the expectation, is that we'll be able to be live. All right. So now it's time to get into the stock down portion of the stream here. Yeah, for sure. I'll be, near the Indianapolis area. That's where all my family is. So if you're around there, for sure. Yeah, stock down. Getting started with Sam Ellinger. I'm just going to go ahead and lump Keaton Slovis into this. I thought Sam again. Sam just looked rusty last night, which is unfortunate, right? He's leading off the game in a situation like that. I hoped he had been able to come out and really perform well throughout the game and solidify that spot. He looked pretty good in preseason game 1, but Jason Bean, even with some up and down moments, looked pretty good. And then coming into this one, I just thought that gap closed between Sam Ellinger and Jason Bean. I don't think Keaton Slovis is really in the conversation. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets let go. If he doesn't get let go, it's only because they want him for the next game. But with the expectation that the starters are going to play and potentially Joe Flacco going to play, right? You're going to have Richardson, Flacco, Ellinger, Bean. Do you really need Slovis to come in and take reps if you want your guys to get a certain amount? I think each one of those quarterbacks can get a quarter, and Slovis is the odd man out. That's just how I think it's going to go this week with that. But Sam, I thought, took a step back, and I thought Jason Bean took a step forward. And just even with the interception, I thought Jason Bean performed well outside of that. And Sam played plenty, right? He played like a quarter and a half, I think. It was something like that. Played a few different series, 4 series, I think, is what Sam ended up having, something like that, 3 or 4 series. And again, just thought he didn't start well. He ended up correcting some things, and the offense was able to move the ball and get a touchdown at one point. But I just thought the offense looked more functional with Jason Bean in. And Jason Bean was playing with guys. I guess he played with a lot of the same guys Ellinger played with, but there were also guys more toward the bottom of the roster playing with Jason Bean. So that's how I feel about the quarterbacks coming out of this one. I mentioned Dio kind of toward the beginning of the stream and how, at least from the inside, didn't like what I saw. Just didn't think he made much of an impact. Now, Dio's been in the league a little while. We've seen him start to, he just getting better and better over the years. Is he really going 100%? Is he kind of just going through the motions of a game day? I don't know. I think it's kind of dangerous if you're going to be on the field and not go 100%. But and maybe I just need to look closer at the tape and just look at him. And is he getting double teamed every time he's on the field? I should look at these things. He's getting chipped every time. Look at him inside and outside. Those are the things I need to go through and watch when I see the All-22. But I just didn't like initially what I saw of Dio. Thought that he could have performed better. And I already mentioned the tackles. Tackles did really bad, the backup tackles. Blake Freeland, Jake Witt are mainly the culprits here. Blake Freeland, of course, played bad. And then you have Jake Witt, who I didn't think had a good game. I thought Jake Witt had a chance to really separate himself and to be somebody like, hey, maybe I can step up here and earn a roster spot, right? Blake Freeland was terrible last year but was on the roster. Hey, maybe I can be decent and make the roster. Jake Witt does not take advantage of the opportunity. Both Blake Freeland and Jake Witt did not perform well last night. So, again, backup tackles is an issue right now. And then Jason Carlisle is going to make this. And I was going to, honorable mention just Jason Carlisle. I had noticed during the game last night there were a couple instances where I didn't like what I was seeing from Carlisle. But thought, other than that, I feel like he plays pretty well. I was looking through some stuff. Again, didn't have all of the All-22. I think I had the first 3 defensive possessions, maybe, of the All-22 available. And just what I saw so far, Jalen Carlisle had to be on the stock down. Somebody who, you can tell right now he's a rookie. I think a part of it is that he's still learning. So because he's in his learning stage still, I think he's at a spot where he's not as reactionary, right? So everything's a little slower. He doesn't have the experience, especially experience at linebacker, of where to fill the gaps and the moves to make to avoid a block. What I saw last night and what I saw in the playback, Jason Carlisle definitely has some things to work on. Hopefully that means Ronnie Harrison is going to continue the role he had last year where he was making plays, able to get some interceptions, getting his hands on the ball, being around the ball. Need a veteran guy like that, right? Somebody that can step into that role in this Gus Bradley defense and make those plays. So Jason Carlisle has looked good in some parts of practice, but again, still a rookie that hasn't played an actual real game. He didn't play in the first preseason game, so that was literally his first ever NFL action. I don't want to go too hard on him. I was just disappointed with what I saw. Again, I had heard really good things coming out of practice about Carlisle and didn't like what I saw watching it back. And then some notes on some other guys. Got a couple notes on the offensive line here. Gonçalves looked like a rookie. Okay, this is another one of the backup tackles. Mac Gonçalves, somebody that I think can be a guy in the future. He has the body for it. It's just he needs to work on athleticism. I think that's what they need to work on. I think he's plenty big enough. Obviously, you want to get these guys stronger, and that'll happen as he continues to mature into his more manly body. But I think from an athletic standpoint, you want to work on that with him. The speed rush seems to be his weakness from what I saw in the game, which, with a rookie, a lot of times is to be expected, right? The speed is different in the NFL. So there's a little bit of needing to get used to that. But I just thought Gonçalves, for what it was last night, could have done a better job, and think there's definitely some stuff he needs to get better at, some stuff that he needs to clean up going forward. But then I also noticed just in a couple instances, Danny Pinter was bad in pass pro. Now, he was also at guard when I noticed this. In the couple reps that I saw, but getting pushed back in the pocket with ease, getting pushed back into the quarterback's lap is exactly what you can't have on the offensive side of things. So that was just something that I noticed as I was sitting there just trying to watch the offensive line and see how the offensive line, the backup offensive linemen, were doing. Now, a couple of guys that I really liked what I saw, but left the game with injuries, Josh Sills and Tanner Bortolini. Now, Josh Sills wasn't perfect. There were a couple reps that I saw where he was getting beat too quick, so it wasn't perfect, but there were also some runs where Josh Sills was moving bodies. There were some good reps and pass coverage where he was had a solid anchor and didn't budge a whole lot. And Tanner Bortolini, I thought Tanner Bortolini looked really good. Like, I made the Jason Kelce comparison after he got drafted, and I'm going to stay on that comparison. I think he continues to develop. Obviously, his rookie year, probably not going to play. At least we would hope, right? We want our starters to stay healthy. But I think Tanner Bortolini, we're set in the future. I thought for somebody who's undersized, right? You look at him just like Jason Kelce. He's a little undersized, but he's able to be more athletic because of it. I think that he did a good job pushing guys around. I thought he had a solid anchor. He wasn't perfect. Again, a rookie. He wasn't perfect. They weren't all clean reps, but I thought he did a really good job. Thought he did well in the first preseason game. Some stuff to clean up, and it looked like from just one preseason game to another, I thought that Bortolini was able to clean some things up and was working on being more technical and more mechanical with what he was doing, and thought that Bortolini played well. So hopefully that toe injury isn't anything crazy. Again, we're just waiting to hear. Once I hear things about these guys, I'll update you guys on that as soon as I possibly can. Hopefully that's today. Okay, and then the last note here that I have from the guys, and this is just what I've seen so far. Again, couldn't watch all the tape. We'll talk more about everything from the game, and we'll go over tape from all the different stuff, the defense, all the different offenses with different quarterbacks. We'll look at everything through the week, just like we did with his last game. But here we have Anthony Gould, who's been killing it in practice, but has yet to replicate anything during the game. And he's got a lot of reps. Like, I haven't looked through it. I feel like last night, just watching the game, I feel like he might have played throughout the entire game. Not on the field for every play, but I feel like throughout the entire game he played. Special teams, he's getting all the reps. Whether it's been on the offense, second team offense when Josh Downs was in there, first team offense with Josh Downs not there. Like, Anthony Gould's been making plays in practice. Even in the joint practice, Anthony Gould's making plays. And then on special teams, he's been making plays throughout practice, even in joint practice with the Cardinals. So I was expecting, in the Cardinals game, I thought he was going to be the leading receiver. I thought he was going to have one or two good returns. And it wasn't really anything. And part of me thinks that part of that is that we're not trying to put Anthony Gould on tape, right? There's a part of that kinds of gamesmanship in the preseason in what are we not wanting to show teams, right? Like, how many crossers? I feel like I haven't seen Anthony Gould just running a bunch of crossers, which is like a specialty. He gets really good separation, has good speed, running across the field, chasing a guy like that is madness for a defense. So it'll be interesting going forward to see how he performs. I'm going to go back and look at the tape, try to pay attention to exactly what we had him doing so that I can get a good idea of, hey, maybe we are just trying to shadow some things and make it to where teams aren't guessing early on in the regular season exactly what we want to do with Anthony Gould. Maybe that's where we're doing with it again. Going to continue looking through things, but the fumble wasn't good. One of my biggest issues with Isaiah McKenzie last year was that Isaiah McKenzie, whether it was on the punt team or on the offense, it just felt like most times he touched the ball touches the ground. Even if he recovers it or somebody on the team recovered it, I mean, there were some of those we lost. Isaiah McKenzie, I feel like, just lost the ball a lot. Probably has something to do with being a smaller guy and having smaller hands, whatever it is. Anthony Gould didn't have a tight enough grip on the ball, gets punched out last night, and you can't have that, man. It was like I'm pretty sure his first offensive touch through the preseason, something like that. So just disappointed with what I saw from Anthony Gould. Hopefully we see him be able to step it up. When you're looking at stats here, looking at team stats, we had 356 total yards. Our defense only let up 232 total yards, which was really good. Thought the defense played well. There were times where they were letting the Cardinals stroll down the field and get points, but I thought for the most, now I say this, the Colts got bailed out by penalties a lot. I thought there were a lot of holding calls last night on the Cardinals that helped our defense out. So take that all with a grain of salt. I thought we got bailed out quite a bit last night. But overall, decent day for the offense, 5.2 yards per play. We had 3 penalties. Cardinals had 11 penalties. We had time of possession 34-26 in our favor. Third down, we were 7 for 12. Cardinals 4 for 12. So that's good. Getting off the field is good. Again, having 3rd and 30 will definitely help that. But we also ran 19 more plays than they did. But we only had 1 more sack. So we had 4 sacks. Cardinals had 3. We ran a lot more plays. So again, it's the preseason. There's some stuff to clean up, of course. But going to keep looking forward, going to keep looking at the tape and keep refreshing this and see when I can get the all-22 so that we can really start to go over what happened and go more in detail about some of the things that we saw and some of the different players that we're looking at, some of the competitions, see who's performing well, who's not. We're going to have roster projection, all that good stuff. Game coming up on Thursday. We got a joint practice in Cincinnati this week. My apologies. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Share this with anybody, friends or family that's a Colts fan. Share this with them. Make sure they're subscribed with notifications on. Gonna keep going live when we can. Gonna keep churning out more content. So, again, appreciate y'all for stopping by for another stream. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.